By 7:15 on the morning of her 43rd birthday, Candace Fleming had already opened the same email 3 times. She still had not answered it. The message from the Community Arts Center was simple enough. A seat had opened in the 10-week Saturday ceramics course she had asked about months ago. Someone else had dropped out. If she wanted the place, she had until noon to accept it. The smell of coffee moved through the kitchen as Candace read the last line again. "Still there?" Henry asked. She lowered her phone. "Still there." Henry McAllister stood at the counter with his back half turned to her, pouring coffee into the mug she always used in the morning. He added a small amount of cream. He waited, then added a little more. "No suga." He had been making it like that for years, and neither of them mentioned it anymore. He brought it over and placed it beside her plate. "Happy birthday." "Thank you." His voice was warm enough. His face was not cold. That was what made the morning feel strange. Candace wrapped both hands around the mug. She wore a burgundy knit blouse with dark tailored trousers and the small gold earrings Henry had seen 100 times before. When she came downstairs, he had looked at her and said she looked good in burgundy. Nothing about him seemed openly wrong. He had remembered the coffee, bought a simple birthday card, and put fresh berries beside the eggs because she preferred them to the pastries he liked. And yet he moved with a carefulness, as if every movement had been decided before she entered the room. Henry glanced toward her phone. "You said you want to take that class." "I did. You've said that more than once." Candace gave him a faint smile. "Thank you for keeping records." "I don't need records." The answer came too quickly. She looked at him. Henry sat across from her. For a moment, he said nothing. Then he tapped one finger against the edge of his coffee cup. "What do you want this year that you didn't let yourself want last year?" Candace stared at him. He had asked some version of that question on nearly every birthday since the early years of their marriage. Once, she had answered without hesitation. "A piano lesson." A week alone near the water. A room in the house that nobody else got to turn into storage. One year she had said she wanted to learn how to throw clay on a wheel, and Henry had laughed because she hated getting dirt under her fingernails. She had laughed too. Lately, her answers had changed. "A quieter summer for us. More dinners at home. Maybe finally redo the kitchen." Things that belonged to both of them. Candace looked down at the Arts Center email. "I want us to stop saying we're going to take a real vacation and actually do it." Henry did not smile. "That's for both of us." So I asked what you want." "I just told you." "No, you told me what would be good for us." Candace took a sip of coffee, even though it was still too hot. "Maybe I'm allowed to want something for us." "You are." "Then why are we arguing?" "I'm not arguing. You're correcting my birthday answer." Henry leaned back slightly. "I'm asking you to notice it." Candace set the mug down. There was no accusation in his tone, which made it harder to dismiss. He sounded almost tired. She glanced again at the email. "The ceramics thing is 10 Saturdays. "I know. You don't know. I never sent you the schedule. You told me when you first looked at it. That was months ago." "I remember." Candace folded one corner of the birthday card beneath her thumb. "If I take it, Saturdays change." "Yes. And we usually keep Saturdays open." "Yes." There it was again. No resistance. No encouragement either. She studied him. "Do you want to take it?" Henry looked at her for a long second. "I want you to figure out whether you want to take it." Something tightened in her chest. "It's an odd thing to hear from my husband on my birthday." "I know." Candace stopped touching the card. Henry looked toward the far end of the table, not at the flowers, not at her phone, but at something beside his chair that she had not noticed when she sat down. A plain document folder. He rested his hand on it. Candace's eyes followed the movement. "Henry." He drew the folder toward him. The kitchen suddenly seemed too quiet. Henry looked at her now, fully. "There's something I need to give you before this morning goes any further." Henry lifted the folder and placed it between them. Candace looked at it, then at him. "What is that?" "Open it." "You brought me something you can't name?" Henry's jaw tightened. "Please." Candace opened the cover. She read only enough to understand what she was holding. Divorce papers prepared in their names. She closed the folder. "Did you know what day it was when you decided to give these to me?" "Yes." "And you still chose this morning?" "Yes." Henry glanced at the folder. Candace put her palm on it. "Don't look at that. You keep acting like the papers have already said what you came here to say. They say what I'm asking for." "No, They say what you had prepared. Say it. Henry was silent. Candace pushed the folder away from herself. Say it out loud. His eyes returned to hers. Candace, tell me what you want. Henry gripped his coffee mug without lifting it. I want a divorce. The sentence landed quietly. Candace waited. That isn't all of it. It's what you asked me to say. I asked what this means. Henry looked away, then back. I don't believe you choose this marriage anymore. Candace's brow tightened. You decided that. I noticed it. Those are different things. I know. Then explain. Henry stayed beside his chair. You don't ask for anything anymore. You move around me before I ask you to. You change plans, say you don't care where we eat, cancel things because my schedule is difficult. Then tell me you preferred it that way. Sometimes that is love. Yes. Sometimes it is. His answer stopped her. That's why I didn't decide this from one dinner or one Saturday. I know you love me. I don't know whether staying with me is still something you choose or something you've gotten too good at making easy. Candace stared at him. So you decided what I meant. Henry looked down. I think you stay because you don't know how to disappoint me. Her throat tightened, and instead of asking if that was true, you prepare divorce papers. Henry did not deny it. The worst part was that one piece of what he said had somewhere to land. She had postponed the class. She had stopped choosing restaurants. She had protected Saturdays because keeping them open was easier than saying she wanted something else. None of that meant she wanted a divorce. But she could no longer pretend she knew exactly what all of it meant. Henry watched her. Tell me I'm wrong. The reassurance arrived automatically in her mind. Of course I choose you. She heard how quickly it came and did not trust the speed of it. No, Henry's face changed. Know what? I'm not going to answer because you put papers on the table and need me to prove you wrong. That isn't what I'm doing. Then don't wait for reassurance. Candace picked up her phone and the closed folder. She carried the folder into the adjoining workspace and set it on the desk without reopening it. Then she opened the Art Center email. 10 Saturdays. Noon deadline. She could still picture every reason to wait. Henry's calendar, their open weekends, the inconvenience of changing a routine. This time she asked only one question. What do you want? Candace tapped accept. Candace watched the confirmation page replace the Art Center email. Her place in the 10-week ceramics course was no longer something she might do. 10 Saturdays, beginning the following week. She felt relief before she felt anything else. One decision had been hers alone. She carried that thought back into the kitchen. Henry had cleared his plate, but not touched hers. The birthday card remained beside her cooling coffee. I accepted the class, Candace said. Henry turned from his sink. The ceramics course? Yes. All 10 Saturdays? Yes. She pulled out her chair, but did not sit. I'm telling you because I don't want you to hear it later and think I was trying to make some secret point. Henry studied her. I don't think you make secret points. You just handed me divorce papers over things I apparently didn't even know I was saying. That isn't fair. Neither was deciding why I stayed without asking me. Henry looked toward the adjoining room. And you accepted the class this morning. Something in his tone made her stop. What? He hesitated. That's the first thing you've chosen for yourself in years. Candace went still. And you think that proves you were right. I think it matters. Of course you do. She gave a small, disbelieving laugh. If I don't choose something for myself, that proves I've disappeared into this marriage. If I do choose something for myself, that proves I needed freedom from it. Tell me what answer I'm allowed to give that doesn't become evidence for you. This isn't a trial. No, a trial would at least tell me what counts against me. Henry's control slipped. What do you want me to do? Pretend I haven't watched this happen. Ask me. I did. Today. After you acted. Would you have answered before? Candace stopped. You don't know. Neither do you. The words hurt because there was no cruelty in them. Candace looked at the coffee he had made exactly right. Maybe I wouldn't have, she said. Henry's shoulders lowered slightly. Candace, don't make that proof too. He went quiet. She returned to the workspace. She picked up the folder and carried it down the hall. Henry followed only to the kitchen doorway. Candace opened the desk drawer. She placed the folder inside and shut it. I'm not spending the rest of my birthday looking at that. I wasn't asking you to. Good. She turned toward the bedroom hallway. Henry watched her. What are you doing? Changing the rest of today. Meaning, Candace faced him. I don't know what I want from this marriage yet. I do know I don't want to sleep beside you tonight, pretending this morning didn't change anything. His expression tightened. You want me out of the house? I said out of our bedroom. Henry held her gaze. The guest room? Yes. He looked as if he wanted to argue, then stopped. All right, I'll use the guest room. The first Saturday after her birthday, Candace stood inside the community arts center with both hands wrapped around a lump of clay. She had already made it too wet. The room smelled faintly of damp earth and old plaster. Nothing in it was elegant. The shelves were crowded with uneven bowls, chipped test tiles, and work that looked unfinished, which was common. Candace liked that immediately. The arts center coordinator had shown her where to put her bag and where the aprons were kept. He also showed which wheel was hers for the morning. After that, nobody treated her like she needed special handling. By the time the first hour passed, there was clay under her fingernails and a gray streak near one cuff. There was something close to relief in her chest. The bowl in front of her leaned slightly to one side. She kept it anyway. When she returned home, Henry was in the kitchen going through the grocery list on his phone. He looked at the clay on her sleeve. How was it? Candace set her tote on a chair. Messy. That sounds promising. She glanced at him. You don't have to make it easy. I asked how it was. I know. Henry put the phone down. Did you like it? Candace considered the question instead of answering quickly. Yes. He nodded. Good. That should have been simple. Instead, Candace felt herself searching his face for what he meant by good. Approval? Evidence? Permission? She hated that she was doing exactly what she had accused him of. I'm going upstairs to shower, she said. Henry reached toward the tote. I could take that to the laundry room if the apron needs washing. No, his hand stopped. Candace heard the sharpness in her own voice. I'll do it. All right. There was nothing wrong with the answer. Still, she carried the bag upstairs herself, even though her wrist ached from holding it on the drive home. Over the next few days, small choices began to feel larger than they were. When Henry offered to pick up dinner on his way back from work, Candace said she would handle it, although she had no interest in cooking. When he asked whether she wanted him to move a box from the hall so she would not trip over it, she said she would move it herself, then left it there until late that night. When he asked whether they should shift a household errand from Saturday morning to Sunday because of her class, she said no before she had even checked what the errand was. Henry did not challenge every answer. That almost made it worse. He slept in the guest room without complaint. He kept his shirts out of their bedroom closet unless he needed something specific. He did not ask when she planned to discuss the papers. He did not mention the folder in the desk. Candace could not decide whether his restraint was respect or whether he had already begun practicing life without her. One evening, she found him standing beside the kitchen island holding 2 takeout menus. I was going to order from the Thai place, he said. Unless you want something else. Whatever you want. Henry looked at her. Candace heard herself. She closed her eyes briefly. No, that's not what I mean. He waited. I want Thai. Okay. And I want the basil chicken, not the noodles. Henry nodded. Basil chicken. She almost laughed at how ridiculous it felt to make a dinner order sound like a declaration of independence. Henry seemed to notice. You don't have to prove anything to me with dinner. Candace's expression changed. I'm not. I didn't say you were. You were thinking it. I was trying not to. That stopped them both. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Candace said, I don't know how to do this without hearing your theory underneath every question. Henry's face tightened. And I don't know how to ask without you hearing an accusation. That sounds like your problem. Yes, he said. Partly. The answer took some of the fight out of her. The following Saturday, Candace stayed after class for 20 minutes to clean her wheel and look at the crooked bowl she had made the week before. The coordinator mentioned that an optional open studio period was available the next Saturday morning for students who wanted extra practice. Candace felt an immediate pull toward it. Not because she desperately needed more time with clay, because it was hers. Then she remembered the monthly breakfast she had kept for years with her longtime friend. Her first instinct was to dismiss the studio period. Her second was stronger. Why should she be the one who moved again? She stood beside her car with the registration page open on her phone and looked at the 2 times. Breakfast. Open studio. She did not ask herself which one she wanted more. She asked which one proved she could finally stop rearranging herself. Then she tapped the studio slot. Candace sent the message to her longtime friend before she could reconsider it. She kept it simple. The art center had opened an extra studio period next Saturday, so she needed to move their monthly breakfast. The reply did not come immediately. Candace told herself that was normal. Her friend had a life. She was not sitting beside the phone, waiting for Candace to rearrange another plan. But when the answer finally appeared, it was shorter than usual. I can't move it this time. Let's leave next month as scheduled. Candace read the message twice. It didn't accuse her of anything, and that made the discomfort sharper. She called anyway. Her friend answered after the third ring. Hey, I saw your message. Okay, I just wanted to make sure you weren't upset. A pause. Do you want to be upset? Candace frowned. What does that mean? It means you're asking how I feel before you've even said whether you actually wanted to cancel breakfast. Candace leaned against the kitchen counter. I wanted the studio time. The answer came fast. Too fast. Her friend did not challenge it. Then take the studio time. That's it. What do you want me to say? I don't know. You sounded... Candace stopped. I sounded like I couldn't change my plans. You usually do. Usually I can. This time I don't want to. Candace stared at the floor. Because I picked something else. That's fine. Her friend's voice stayed calm. But if you keep changing our plans, I'm going to stop building my Saturdays around them. That's not punishment. I just need my time to belong to me too. Candace opened her mouth, then closed it. I didn't ask you to build your time around me. No, you just assumed I could move because I usually have. The words landed cleanly. No cruelty. No moral lesson. Just a boundary. Candace looked toward the hallway, suddenly aware of how familiar that sentence felt from the other side. Her friend continued, softer now. I don't need you to choose me over a pottery class. I just need to know that when you say you want something, you actually want it. Candace swallowed. Edo. But even as she said it, the answer felt thinner than it had 2 days earlier. After the call ended, she opened the open studio confirmation and stared at it. She imagined the extra 2 hours at the wheel. She didn't want more practice. But did she want it more than breakfast? The answer came slowly. No. What she had wanted was to keep the plan. That realization stayed with her for the rest of the morning. By late afternoon, Henry asked if she wanted to go with him to the grocery store. We're out of half the things on the list. Candace almost said no automatically. Instead, she looked at him. Yes. He seemed surprised, then tried not to show it. All right. At the market, they moved through the aisles with the awkward efficiency of people who'd spent years shopping together. Suddenly, they weren't sure which habits were safe to keep. Henry reached for the coffee they always bought, then stopped. Still this one? Candace looked at the bag. Yes. Because you want it. She gave him a sharp look. Do not do that with coffee. Henry lowered the bag. I'm trying to ask. You're turning every object into a test. And you're hearing every question as an accusation. Because sometimes it is. Henry placed the coffee in the cart. Sometimes. They continued in silence until they reached the produce section. Candace picked up tomatoes, put 2 back, then picked them up again. Henry watched, but said nothing. I canceled breakfast with my friend for extra studio time, Candace said. Okay. It wasn't okay. Henry waited. I thought I was finally choosing something for myself. Wasn't it? Not really. She pushed the cart forward. I didn't value the extra studio enough to skip breakfast. I cared about not changing my plan. Henry absorbed that. There's a difference. Apparently. He looked down at the cart. I'm sorry. Candace turned toward him. For what? For making every compromise look suspicious. She studied his face. That isn't the whole thing. No. They moved a few steps farther before Henry stopped beside the shelves of olive oil. His hand stayed on the cart handle. I should have asked you. Candace did not speak. Before the papers. Before I decided what all those years of you saying whatever works meant. Her expression hardened slightly. Why didn't you? Henry looked past her for a moment, then back. Because I was afraid you'd tell me I was right. Candace went still. That doesn't make sense. It does if you're a coward in a very specific way. His voice was quieter now. I kept telling myself I was offering you a choice I didn't expect you to take. The truth is, I didn't ask because I was afraid you'd say you didn't choose me anymore. Candace stared at him. So you gave me the papers first. Yes. So you could know the answer before I gave it. Henry looked down. So I could have an answer. The market noise seemed to recede around them. Candace felt anger rise, but it was different now. Less clean. Henry had not only decided for her. He had used certainty to protect himself from hearing her freely say no. She let that sit between them. Then Henry reached for a bag of potatoes near the bottom shelf and stopped halfway. He looked at her instead. Do you actually want me to carry that? Or do you want to do it yourself? Candace looked at the bag, then at him. For the first time, she couldn't tell which answer would be more honest. Candace looked at the bag of potatoes, then at Henry. You carry it. He lifted it into the cart without comment. The choice felt different. She had answered before asking herself what the answer would prove. On the drive home, they talked about detergent, groceries, and nothing that sounded like a marriage test. At the house, Henry reached for the carton of eggs she carried. I've got it, Candace said. He stopped. That one is not a statement. I just don't want you hovering. Fair. Over the next several days, they began asking small questions instead of filling in answers for each other. Henry asked whether she wanted dinner started before ceramics ended. She said yes. He asked whether she wanted company buying class supplies. She said no. Candace asked whether he wanted her at an early weekday dinner. He said yes, and she went. The hardest test came when a household errand they usually handled together had to move. I could do it Sunday, Henry said. Candace checked her phone. I'll go with you Saturday after class. He hesitated. You don't have to. I know. You said you wanted Saturdays to be yours. The class is mine. The entire day is not sacred territory. Henry still looked uncertain. What? Candace asked. I don't want you agreeing because you think I need you there. I want to change the plan. He paused too long. Candace saw him measuring the answer against his old theory. Henry, changing my plan is not the same thing as disappearing. I'm telling you I want to. He nodded. All right. You believe me? I'm trying to. Try without making me submit evidence. Henry absorbed that. All right. Saturday, Candace went to class, then met him for the errand exactly as she had chosen. When he asked once whether she regretted giving up the afternoon, she said no. He accepted it. That evening they wanted different takeout. Henry suggested ordering both. Candace laughed. That is exactly the kind of rich person solution that makes a simple disagreement ridiculous. So Thai? He asked. I want Thai. You want Italian. Get Italian. We can live like this. Candace looked at him. Apparently. The smile between them did not settle the larger question. Henry remained in the guest room. Candace kept attending class. Some meals they shared, some they did not. He still paused too long sometimes. She still caught herself choosing the firm option, as if that proved she was independent. But they both started catching those impulses before they turned into conclusions. One evening after class, Henry asked, Do you want me to keep using the guest room? Yes. He nodded and turned away. Henry, that isn't the same as me saying I want you gone. I know. Do you? He took a breath. I'm learning. 2 nights later, after dinner, Henry found her in the living room. Do you want me to move out temporarily? Candace looked at him. For the first time since her birthday, she could not tell whether the honest answer was yes or no. Candace did not answer Henry's question that night. She set her phone face down on the sofa cushion. She looked toward the hallway that led to the guest room. I don't know, she said. Henry nodded once. Okay. He did not ask her to make the answer cleaner than it was. He walked toward the guest room without asking anything else. Candace remained in the living room long after he disappeared down the hall. What frightened her was not that she wanted him gone. It was that she could not tell whether having him nearby was helping her make sense of anything. The following evening, they ate at the kitchen table. Nothing about dinner felt important until Henry asked whether she wanted more water, and Candace said no. He accepted it. A minute later, she asked if he wanted the last piece of bread. She handed it to him. 2 weeks earlier, she might have thought such an exchange was meaningless. Now she noticed how much effort it took not to attach a second question to every answer. Are you pulling away? Are you trying? Does this mean you still love me? Henry finished the bread and looked at her. You've been quiet. I'm thinking. About moving out? About everything. He waited. Candace pushed her plate slightly away. I still love you. Henry's face changed, but he did not move. The confession sat between them with more weight than she expected. She had imagined that saying it would make something simpler. It did not. "I love you," she repeated. "That's true." Henry's hand tightened around his glass. "Candace, don't." He stopped. "Don't turn that into an answer I haven't given." His eyes lowered briefly. "I wasn't going to." "You wanted to." "Yes." She appreciated the honesty and resented needing to. "A part of me wants to hear you say, 'Then stay.' Then we fix this. Then the papers don't matter." Henry looked at her carefully. "Is that what you want me to say?" Candace almost answered yes. Instead, she asked herself whether she wanted the words or what the words would save her from having to decide. "No," she said. "Not if you only say it, because I told you I love you." Henry nodded. "Then I won't." Candace leaned back. "Do you still want the divorce?" He did not answer immediately. "I don't know what I want the papers to do anymore." Her expression hardened. "That is not what I asked." "I know. Do you want this marriage?" Henry looked down at his hands. "I want you." Candace gave a tired laugh. "That's not the same question." "No, you taught me that." The words landed between them. Henry looked at her. "I want a marriage where I don't spend every year wondering if you're still here, because leaving would hurt me. And I want a marriage where every compromise I make isn't examined like evidence that I've disappeared. Then maybe we don't know how to have that yet." Candace felt something ache behind her ribs. "Maybe." Henry did not try to soften the word. That hurt too. After dinner, they cleaned the kitchen without turning the ordinary task into another test. Later, Candace stood in the doorway of the guest room. Henry was folding a shirt onto the back of a chair. He looked up. "What is it? Does staying in here feel like separation to you?" Henry thought about it. "Sometimes. To me, it still feels like we're living the same life with a different bedroom." "Is that bad?" "I don't know." She walked into the room, but stayed near the door. "I know I love you. I know I'm angry with you. I know I don't want to sign something just because you handed it to me. I know I don't want to promise you we're fine, because we're learning how to order dinner without interpreting each other." Henry sat on the edge of the bed. "That's a lot of knowing. It's not enough. What's missing?" Candace looked at him. "Whether being this close makes it harder to tell what I actually choose." Henry's expression tightened. "You think I should move out?" "I didn't say that." "No," he caught himself. "You didn't." Candace noticed the correction. "Thank you. I'm trying." "I know." She leaned against the doorframe. "You know what the worst part is?" Henry waited. "If I tell you to stay, I don't know whether I'm choosing you or choosing the comfort of not changing anything else. If I tell you to go, I don't know whether I'm choosing space or proving to myself that I can." Henry said nothing. Candace looked down the hallway toward the bedroom they had shared for years. "I don't want either of us to turn the next choice into a verdict." "Then what do you want?" She lifted her eyes to him. "I know what I don't want to do anymore." Henry waited. Candace's voice softened. "I need tonight to figure out what that means." The next morning, Candace was already in the kitchen when Henry came in. She had slept badly. It wasn't because she had been waiting for an answer. The answer had been there for hours. It had taken time to pry it away from everything she wanted it to protect. Henry stopped when he saw her. "Morning. Morning." He glanced toward the coffee machine. "Do you want me to make yours?" Candace thought about it. "Yes." Henry nodded and prepared it exactly the way he always did. When he set the mug down in front of her, Candace wrapped both hands around it but did not drink. Henry took the chair across from her. Neither looked toward the hallway where the divorce papers had been put away weeks earlier. "I know what I want to do," Candace said. Henry's face tightened slightly. "Okay, and I need you now to translate it before I finish." "I won't." Candace looked at him. "I still love you." Henry did not move. "That hasn't changed overnight." "I know." "No, you don't. That's part of the problem. You know what I say, and then you decide what it means." Henry lowered his eyes. "You're right. I'm not saying it so you'll agree with me." "I know." Candace took a breath. "I don't want a final divorce right now." Henry's expression changed before he could stop it. Relief, immediate and visible. Candace raised one hand. "That is not the end of the sentence." The relief disappeared. He nodded. "Go on. I also don't want us to keep living together like this." Henry sat very still. "You want me to move out?" "Yes." The word hurt more after she said it. Candace felt in her chest, but she did not take it back. "I want a real separation." Henry looked at the table between them. "For how long?" Candace almost answered. A month. 2 months. Something neat. Something that would make the decision sound temporary enough to survive. She stopped herself. I don't know. Henry looked up. You don't know. No. Do you want us to work toward coming back together? I don't know that either. His jaw tightened. Candace, this is the part you don't get to fix for me. I'm asking. And I'm answering. He leaned back. Your answer is that you love me, you don't want a divorce, and you want me to leave without knowing whether you want me back. Yes. Henry gave a short breath that was almost a laugh, but there was no humor in it. That's difficult to hear. I know. It sounds like 3 different answers. Maybe it is 3 different things. Henry looked away. Candace continued before fear could make her soften it. I can love you and still not trust what happens to us when we fall back into the same rooms. I do not trust the same routines. I cannot want a divorce. I still do not want to live like your wife right now. I can ask you to leave without that meaning I have secretly wanted you gone for years. Henry closed his eyes briefly. I didn't say that. Not yet. He looked at her. You think I will. I think you might want to. Henry was quiet. Then he said, part of me does. Candace swallowed. Because it would make the birthday make sense. Because if this ends in divorce, then I can tell myself I saw it before you did. And if I come back, then I can tell myself the separation proved I was right that you needed freedom. Candace nodded slowly. Exactly. Henry looked at his hands. There isn't a version where I get certainty out of this without doing the same thing again. No, that's what you're asking me to live with. Yes. The kitchen stayed silent. Candace expected Henry to offer a deadline or a plan that would make uncertainty measurable. I'm not asking you to wait for me, she said. I know, and I'm not promising this ends with us together. Henry's face tightened, but he nodded. This time she believed he understood the sentence. Henry stood. Slowly. When do you want me to go? Today. The word landed hard. He absorbed it without argument. All right. Candace's throat tightened. She had imagined that choosing separation would feel like choosing herself. It did not. It felt like choosing uncertainty when certainty would have been easier for both of them. Henry looked toward the hallway, then back at her. What do you need me to take today? Henry left that afternoon with what he needed for the next few days. He came back once for the rest. Candace did not stand over him while he packed. He did not ask her to reconsider. They kept the practical conversation practical. Shirts, shoes, a charger, the documents he needed for work, the things in the bathroom that were unmistakably his. The guest room looked almost untouched by the time he finished. The house felt more altered than if he had left boxes everywhere. When Henry paused near the kitchen before going, Candace thought he might say something about the marriage. Instead, he asked, Do you need anything from me this week? She considered it. No, Henry nadie. All right. He left. The first nights alone were not triumphant. Candace slept badly. She went to ceramics on Saturday. She ruined another bowl and stayed for the full class anyway. She kept the monthly breakfast with her longtime friend the next time it came around. She did not treat showing up as evidence that she had become a better person. She simply showed up because she wanted to. Some evenings she missed Henry so sharply that she almost called him for no reason. Other evenings she enjoyed the quiet and felt guilty for enjoying it until she caught herself turning comfort into another verdict. They spoke when there was something real to discuss. Sometimes Candace asked him a question because she wanted his answer. Sometimes Henry asked whether she wanted help with something, and sometimes she said yes. Once she changed a plan because it made sense for both of them. She noticed that she did not disappear. Once she refused to change one. Henry sounded disappointed, but did not ask what that refusal meant. Nothing became easy. That was part of what made the changes feel real. Several weeks into the separation, Henry came by the house in the early evening for a small practical handoff. He did not linger in the doorway. He did not behave like a stranger either. Candace had made soup earlier. She was putting the leftovers away when he stepped into the kitchen. For a second, the room looked almost exactly as it had before her birthday. Same counter, same mugs, same table, different rules. Candace lifted one container. Do you want to take some soup? Henry looked at it. No, thank you. The old version of Candace would have said, you liked it last time. Or, I made too much anyway. Or she would have put it into a bag for him, and called the gesture practical. This time she simply said, "Okay," and put the container back into the refrigerator. Henry watched her do it, then glanced toward the coffee machine. "Do you want me to stay for coffee?" Candace rested one hand on the refrigerator door. She did not answer quickly. Not because she was trying to create distance. Not because she wanted to test whether he could hear no. She actually imagined the next half hour. Henry at the table. Coffee between them. A conversation that might be pleasant, might be painful, might make her want him to stay longer. Then she asked herself what she wanted tonight. "Not tonight," she said. Henry's disappointment was visible. It passed across his face before he could hide it. Candace felt the familiar impulse to soften the answer. "Maybe tomorrow. Maybe later this week. I'm just tired." She let the impulse pass. Henry looked at her for another moment, then nodded. "All right." He picked up what he had come for and walked toward the door. Candace did not follow him to explain. Henry did not turn the refusal into a question about the marriage. At the doorway, he looked back once. "Good night, Candace." "Good night, Henry." The door closed quietly behind him. Candace returned to the kitchen. She opened the refrigerator again to make room on the shelf. She saw both portions of soup still there and moved neither of them. This story is a fictional narrative created for entertainment, reflection, and educational purposes. Any resemblance to real people, places, or events is purely coincidental.